Hi, good morning, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Good morning, and welcoming you to Mind Movement, and also welcoming you to Win the Day on Wednesday. Here with me, 9 o'clock on Wednesday, and just a few parameters here as before we get started. This will be a flow exercise movement class. We'll be infusing martial arts techniques as well as concepts from Budokan Yoga. And here we're also just going to just give ourselves space. So about 6 to 10 square feet of space. We try to keep it as minimal as possible for this class so we can go ahead and build ourselves from the ground up. Now, something to expect, we will be moving into different poses, not too different than the one I'm in right now, which is what we call Seiza, where we just ground ourselves in and just allow ourselves presence, really getting into our connection through our mind and our body, and through that, using movement as a way to communicate that. So, what I ask is again, our space, 6 to 10 square feet of space, and give yourself some water to make sure that we can take water breaks frequently in between. And from there, we will go ahead and start at the base of our mats. Now, as we go along, and here, going ahead and ask ourselves, what does presencing mean, right? Now, presencing means me finding the present moment, right? Trying to distinguish it from the past and the future. What better time than the middle of the week, right? Where we've experienced maybe, the just maybe the rush of moving into a new work week, a new season, right? Unofficially, a new season, change of weather, and really using our breathing as a form of presencing ourselves with the present moment, right? And also being in the middle of the week, also seeing ourselves where are we going to be in the rest of the week as well. Okay. Perhaps work was a little rough this week. Okay. Maybe we're looking forward with anticipation towards the weekend. So here we're going to find ourselves in the presence using our breathing. And being mindful of that breath through the nose for inhalation and exhale through the mouth. And finding the intention in each one, as there will be an intention with our breathing in conjunction with our movements. As we breathe, this finds nice tall spine. And again, in our Seiza position where the tops of our feet are to the mat, and our hips, sit bones down towards our heels, and our spine is nice and tall. Let's go ahead and relax the eyes, relax the jaw, relax all the facial muscles, and even close the eyes. We just sit and allow ourselves to find what presence means for us. What more present than the automated function of breath itself? Just a few more breaths. Expanding the rib cage with intention to allow breath in through my inhalation. And using my core, my abs to push the air out, belly button, the spine, Exhale. Inhale. Expand the rib cage, expand the lungs. Exhale. Contract the core. We're going to regulate our breath. Preparing ourselves to move our breathing in conjunction with our bodies as well as our minds. Any preoccupation or fear that we had going into the class, shedding that fear. Any preoccupation, bringing myself back to presence with my breathing. And finding power in that breath and presence itself. Let's allow ourselves to open up our eyes. And powerfully taking in the space around us and owning that space around us to move freely about it. And here we go ahead and shift our weight from our feet to our hands. Let's move our hands onto the ground to a point just beneath our shoulders and our hips just above our knees to our tabletop position. Not letting our feet leave the ground, still grounding in and finding safety in the ground. And let's go ahead and press our breathing through a rotation. So here I want to just draw circles, head facing down towards the mat. I'm drawing a small circle with my nose. And start clockwise. Splaying my fingers evenly so that each finger is met evenly to the mat as well as the thumbs. Allowing the fingers to open up and the wrists, but all the while still keeping the tops of the feet based into the mat. My hips sway ahead and back, ahead and back. And as mentioned, let's go ahead and be mindful of our coordination of our breathing with each movement. So let's do an inhalation for my top semicircle that I'm drawing with my nose, and at the bottom semicircle, inhale and exhale. Inhale, top, exhale, bottom. Being mindful of the arms being straight, strong at the shoulders, as well as the wrists. Tops of the feet still met evenly to the ground, as well as my palms, all four corners of the palms based into the ground. Let's go ahead and pause and switch directions. So again, drawing that circle with my nose at a point just in between both my hands. And allow yourself to change your breathing pattern in conjunction with your movement. So here I inhale for my lower semicircle, and I exhale for my top. Being mindful of any discomfort or pain in my wrists, in my fingers, and all the while, again, pressing the tops of the feet to the mat. So even where the shins may be met onto the mat. Maybe even close the eyes, visualizing our movements. And opening our eyes to match what we visualize to what we actually see. And time. Here I'm going to bring my knees wider than hips width apart. So point my knees out, not quite 45 degrees from center, but wider. So I can sink my hips back towards my heels again. I also want to walk my fingers forward for my child's pose. Elongating the spine, allow the head to relax in between. Again, finding that power in the breath. We can just ground in. Allowing the head to come down towards the ground. If I have more space to reach forward, I'm going to walk those fingers forward even further, letting the heels of the palms leave the ground as the hips sit back. Nice. Allowing the head to relax. Spine elongates, as well as the muscles alongside the spine. Excellent. Now let's shift the weight from our feet again to our hands. You can bring the elbows down towards the ground. Shifting my weight forward. And here's I bring the weight off of my feet. Bring the weight off of my knees as well, drawing my knees closer, within hips width apart as my elbows leave the ground. Go for my low plank. And push up and forward. It's my up dog. Shoulders are back. I'm looking forward. My hips are down to the ground, allowing gravity and my breathing to keep my hips coming closer down to the ground. Each breath, allowing those hips to sink deeper, closer, shoulders are back. And again, let's rest the knees down onto the mats and push back. My gaze is down towards the mat as my hips go back, 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 and walking my fingers forward. And here, distinguishing what may be a discomfort as opposed to something more advanced, like an actual pain. With the discomfort, I'll try to find my way through it with my breathing. Perhaps I'm tight in the hips. Bring those knees out a bit wider. Allow the hips to sit back towards the heels. Walking the fingers forward. And again, allowing breath and gravity to ground in to your extension. If you feel any pain, feel free to come to any neutral position. So in this position here, we just bring our hips back up off of the ground and just find our tabletop position again. We're a bit more grounded with less pressure. And for those that are still sitting in, I want to dive through again. As I dive through, I'm going to draw my knees closer to the same width as my feet, hips width apart. Dive through, this time making more of an effort to keep my elbows off of the ground. Going from my feet to my hands as I shift forward and up again. Exhale. Again, allowing each exhalation to allow those hips to sink down towards the ground. Inhale. Exhale, hips lower. With ease, not forcing any movement. And here again, I rest my knees onto the ground. So I walk myself back to Seiza. Bringing in the legs together. Tops of the feet to the ground. Again, I bring my hands one atop another, palms facing up, spine tall. In through the nose and out through the mouth. While the eyes are closed. While presencing again yourself through your breathing. Allowing any thought disturbances, any internal chit chat, any external disturbances. Just take them in, accept them for what they are. And allow yourself the presence and power to let it go. With thought disturbances, or even external disturbances, the passing of a car, the bark of a dog. Not ignoring it. We're allowing ourselves a presence and power to bring ourselves back to our present moment, which is now. Not then, not what is to come, but here and now, as is our breathing. No judgment, no regret, and no expectation. Let's open the eyes again. Taking in the space around us. Let's again shift away from our feet to our hands, placing the hands to the ground, shoulders width apart. And again, walking myself to my tabletop position. Hands just beneath the shoulders, feet pressed firmly into the mat, and my hips above my knees. Here I want to presence my breath through my cat-cow motion. So I want to draw my chin in towards my chest and push my back up towards the sky, contracting my spine, belly button to spine. For my cat, exhale and inhale, lower the belly down, raise the hips, that rotates at my hip bones. Inhale. Exhale. Inhaling through the nose. Exhaling through the mouth. Breathing through any immobilities. You're further opening up the wrists, the fingers, as well as the tops of the feet. Begin to pick up the pace. Expelling the air from my lungs with my core. As we get more into the base of the spine as well, rotating the hips back for our cat and rotating the hips forward, right? Noticing that hinging in the hips, right? Turning. And time. Let's bring ourselves to neutral. Our gaze is a point just ahead and in between both our hands. And here I want to rotate the hands here, turning 180 degrees. So I want to turn left hand first, and let's inhale. As we raise, turn. I want to keep this heel of my palms still met with a line right at the middle. That line meets at the base of each palm. And I inhale up and turn, exhale, lower. We'll go to the opposite side. Right hand raises, inhale. Just like the air that I draw in, I raise my hand up. I turn and exhale, lower. Keeping my arms straight, inhale up, turn, and exhale, lower. Being mindful of not putting too much weight. And I turn my hand in reverse. Maybe even slightly bending the elbow. Turn. Inhale up, turn, then exhale. Still keeping the tops of the feet based into the mat. As I focus more on my breathing. Inhale up and exhale lower. Inhale up, turn, exhale lower. And again, as we see fit and capable, we'll pick up the pace. Inhale, turn, exhale. Inhale up. Again, still being mindful. Keep the base, the tops of the feet to the mat. Onto the ground. One last turn, each hand back and forward. Try to keep the arm straight. And time. Again, we're going to draw a circle. This time, keeping that circle triangulated. So it's at a point just above and in between both my hands. Inhale and exhale. Here, allowing yourself to find that inhalation and exhalation through any semicircle. Top of the circle, inhale. Bottom of the circle, exhale. Or top of the circle, exhale. Bottom of the circle, inhale. Small circles, getting shoulders just ahead of the wrists. Small wrist stretch. Fingers evenly splayed, and be mindful, each finger being stretched just a bit with each one. And reverse directions. Also being mindful, try to keep the hips from swaying backwards here Trying to keep the hips at least above the knees as best as we can. If you need to, of course, there's too much discomfort, allow the hips to go backwards. The top of the feet still press into the mat. And time. Shift the hips back while reaching the fingers forward. Bring the knees a bit wider, allow the chest to rest in between the thighs. Walk the fingers forward, drop the hips back for our child's pose. Head relaxes. And again, diving through. This time, elbows hardly, if at all, touch the ground. As I exhale, bringing the weight from my feet to my hands. Elbows are nice and tight to the body. Knees come closer together. Hips width apart, shoulders back. And looking forward as my hips come down towards the mat with my breathing. Exhale. Lower those hips. Draw those shoulders back. Inhale. And exhale. Hips down. Excellent. Now I'm going to shift my vision from forward to downwards. Pushing back to my down dog. I flip my feet to the balls of my feet. Lowering my heels down, but bending both knees. Heel up, heel down. Just alternate left and right. Stretching the back of the calves. Head is in between the arms, which is straight and in line with the spine. Now from here, I want to dive through again. Chin to chest. And as I dive through, elbows not touching the ground, really getting centered on my body, on my arms, my core, arms tight to my body. I flip again the tops of my feet to the mat from the balls, 1 foot at a time. And soar back upwards, hips down, shoulders back, gazes forward, up dog. In through the nose, and exhale, hips down, allowing gravity and my breath to work the stretch. From here we push back. Inhale, gaze down towards the ground, flip the tops of the feet to the base of the feet. Balls of the feet. Lower the heels down towards the ground, slight bend in both knees. Heel up, heel down. Now from here, just going to lower the knees down towards the ground, keeping the balls of the feet to the ground as best we can, giving the toes a nice stretch. Draw the knees wide, chest in between the thighs. Here, instead of walking my fingers forward, I'm pressing into the heel of my palms, pushing my hips back towards my butt, and just allowing the toes to open up, still on the balls of my feet. Nice. And then from there, bringing the tops of my feet to the mat, pushing back, hips to heels for Cesar. Grounding in with a few breaths. And time. Okay, let's take a small water break, and we'll come back to this position in about 30 seconds. As we take our water break, Just giving a bit of the length of time here in class, right? Class is typically 55 minutes. So at any point, allowing yourself a water break. It's absolutely necessary, but we'll tend to have 3 to 4 of them throughout our session. Okay, so Marseille's position. Here, we're going to go ahead and draw ourselves back into that down dog through our up dog through chaturanga. Okay, so here, I want to again draw my knees wide, walk my fingers forward while keeping my hips connected to my heels. Head comes down. Just allowing the chest to rest and sink in between the thighs. And we'll dive through from that low plank or chaturanga through to up dog. Shoulders are back, my gaze is forward. Again, we push back. Down dog. Flip the feet 1 foot at a time onto the balls of the feet. Let's go ahead and bend both legs. From here, our gaze is forward. I want to use my thighs here. Use my feet. Use my toes. Use my legs all together to spring into a squat position. Both legs at once. Drawing my feet closer to my hands as I hop forward. Watch first. Looking at a point ahead of both my hands in between. And I hop. Right? No judgment at all. We hop. The main point is to make sure that we land safely. Okay. So those that tried it with me, you can return to a plank position where the hands are just beneath the shoulders. And let's push back, down dog. Both knees bent, head in between my arms. Here, I raise my head and bend my knees. To load, 1, 2, and on 3, we jump. Lowering the feet safely down towards the ground. I raise my hands off of the ground and press my palms together. Prayer squat. Again, for this moment in time, I'm going to keep my eyes closed. Drawing air in through the nose. And still in this compressed position where my lungs don't have as, or my rib cage doesn't have as much room to open up. Elongating the spine to find that breath. And exhale. Try and work the spine nice and tall. Pressing each finger evenly together. Palms. The bottoms of my feet are met evenly to the ground. Perhaps even grabbing with my toes. Lifting those arches. Secure and firm to the ground. Nice. If we need to, find this a little bit much. Okay, reach forward, bring the hands to the ground. Then back into prayer squat. The spine nice and tall. Okay. Now we're going to place our hands to the ground. I'm going to kick back. Okay, so I'm going to raise up and kick both feet back to a plank position. Okay, I can go both feet at the same time, or I can go 1 foot at a time. Here, to bring both feet back at the same time. So I'm really shifting the weight onto my hands, kicking both feet back same time. And with explosion in my breath, a good exhalation, I come to that plank position, hips down, head up. Here for a modified up dog. Again, really get into the balls of my feet, shoulders back, my gaze is forward. Allowing those hips to sink down towards the ground, shifting the weight from left to right. Really intentionally drawing the hips down towards the ground. Now I'm gonna turn to my left. My left inner foot comes down to the ground and my right outer foot down to the ground. Keep my arms straight, hands evenly met to the ground. I'm gonna allow my hips to sink down towards the mat, but all the while keeping my arms straight as I can. Exhalation again, drawing my hips closer to the ground. Inhale up, exhale down, and we switch. Here, go back onto the balls of both feet. So I turn to my right. Right inner foot to the ground, left outer foot to the ground. Keep my arms as straight as I can. Weight evenly distributed in both arms. So I draw my hips down towards the ground. And again, if this is too much at any point, just draw your knees down to the ground and back to our Seiza position we began with. Here, return back to our high plank. Draw the knees down to the ground. Here's come back into our tabletop position so we can draw the hands wherever they are, close to the shoulders, just beneath, tops of the feet to the ground. Okay, now from here, I'm going to go ahead and bring the balls of my feet to the ground. So I'm really tucking my toes, 1, 2, and raising my knees maybe about an inch or 2 off of the ground. Okay, so I'm in an active tabletop here, to the point where my back is almost like the tabletop itself. Now from here, what I want to do is raise opposite hand, opposite foot. I'm going to raise my left hand and my right foot at the same time, best I can. So here, you can merely shift the weight to the sides we need to, the sides that are grounded. Raise left hand, right foot, and lower them. Same on the opposite sides. Right hand, left foot, inhale up, and exhale, lower. Now, as I do that, try my best to try to not shift my weight from one side to the other. So case in point here, inhale up, and exhale, lower. Inhale up, and exhale, lower. And this is, of course, the intention, or perhaps maybe it's not the execution at first. Right, placing no worry or judgment. Safety is the main key here. So making sure that we land properly. I'm gonna raise my left hand, right foot, same time. And lower same time. Opposite side. Let's do this for 30 more seconds. Not really too concerned with how much weight or how many reps, should I say, I'm going to get in that allotted amount of time. So let's really go get the proper movement, get the most out of it. Inhale up, exhale lower, just a little while longer. Find that small pause at the bottom and top of the breath. And time. Again, tops of the feet to the mat. Let's walk ourselves back to our Seiza. Knees close together, palms facing up. Spine is nice and tall. Okay, let's shift ourselves back to that tabletop position. And here, walk ourselves into our plank. Okay, so from tabletop to our plank, legs straight back. And here again, I'm going to hop, shifting my weight back. My gaze is now forward, bending both legs, propelling back into that squat. 1, 2, and 3. Hopping forward, pressing the palms together. Here's I press my palms together. Thighs widen, hips down towards the ground. Spine is nice and tall. Really stretching out the wrists, the fingers even. And just allow our hips to raise off of the ground, the same height as our knees. Let's begin to walk the feet wider. Here my hands will come apart, really engage in my thighs and my glutes. Shifting my weight from left to right. Nice, so we trace the hands along the ground. Let's walk the hands to the right as my hips come towards my right. Right heel raises off the ground. Heel comes towards my sit bone. So raise my left toes up towards the sky. Keep my left leg as straight as I can and keep my left thigh engaged. Here our hands can leave the ground, come to an upright position as best we can. Or if the hands are met on the ground, we can begin to walk our fingers towards the right, opening that right hip further. All the while keeping our posture as upright as we can. And switch, shifting our weight to the left. Walk the fingers. My left heel leaves the ground as my right toes leave the ground. Toes up, foot's flex. And again, let's bring that left elbow inside the left thigh, pointing that knee out. Opening the adductors, the groin, as we stretch the hamstring on the opposite leg. And the hands leave the ground, testing our balance as well as our rootedness to the ground. Nice. Then now from here, I'm going to go into a lunge. Okay, so I'm going to walk my hands to my right and turn my hips to the right. So my left heel raises off the ground. Both arms are the inside of my leg. Head is up, hips are down. And we switch. Heel comes down on one leg as I walk my fingers to the left. Just rotating, making sure there's space laterally between both feet. All right, so they're both still hips width apart. Head is up, hips down. Keep that back leg as straight as you can. It's really the intention of the hips drawing down towards the ground, not so much the knee, right? Knee stays up, hips go down. Now we go ahead and shift our weight back to the right. Facing forward, I'm gonna raise my heel off of the ground, flex my other foot. This time I'm gonna go inner foot to the ground, posture stays upright. Let's try and leave the ground. Open up the adductors, groin. Posture's upright. And here again, we switch. shifting away from one leg to the other, perhaps not even using our hands. My heel leaves the ground, my toes leave the ground the opposite side, my foot is flexed, and then I rotate that inner foot down towards the ground, knee and toes facing straight ahead. Trying to keep that posture as upright as we can. Nice. Now from here, we're going to shift and try to balance ourselves on one leg at a time. Okay, so what I want to do is begin to rotate on the ball of my foot as I shift my weight from my left leg to my right. Rotate from here. I'm just going to balance on just that one leg alone. All right, keeping my leg as bent as I can. I'm going to reach my right arm forward and my left arm back. So raise my left foot off the ground. Here, let's test our balance. By first keeping the leg bent. Left palm faces down, and my right palm faces up. I want to look through the point straight ahead and between both, through my fingers. So one arm extends forward, the other one extends back. I then straighten my base leg or base on it. If you ever need to come back down out of it, bring that left foot back down towards the ground. Okay. Nice. And back down. Now from here, I'm going to shift the weight from one leg to the other. Rotate, ball the foot. Ball the foot. And again, I'm reaching in two different directions. I'm reaching ahead with my lead hand and backwards with my back hand. Lead hand, palm faces up. Back hand faces down. Allow yourself to keep that slight bend in the knee. And again, if you need to come out of it, find absolutely no preoccupation with the motion. Here we're building ourselves from the ground up with power. As just like on all fours, the ground was the base where we push through power. Just as we are, in our bipedal motion, both feet to the ground here, just testing and balancing on one leg this time. And my hips are facing towards the front of me. Best I can, come in and out of this position. Draw through the thigh. The power through the ground, up, throughout, and extending through to the other extremities. And time, bend that leg. And time. Here we come to our standing position. Now as I shift my camera from down to up, let's make sure that we bring feet slightly wider than hips width apart. Toes are facing out, just slightly, okay, not quite 45 degrees, but feel free to do so if you need to. Here I want to draw my hands close to my head, all the while keeping my arms close to my body. Right, elbows are pointing down, so my arms are shaped the letter V from the side, and both arms shaped like the letter A at the top. Okay, now here we're getting some more balances here. Okay, so feet slightly wider than hips width apart. I want to begin to raise my heel off of the ground. As I extend and thrust through, with punches. Using my imagination to create a point at which the impact goes not just to the target, but through the target. Same side hand that I'm punching on, that foot raises off of the ground, an indicator in which and how high my heel raises off the ground and which direction it faces is indicated by my knee facing the opposite direction. So if I'm kicking, punching towards my left with my right hand, right knee should be facing in that direction. My right heel off the ground facing the opposite direction. Find extension through rotation in my core. Take the air in the middle as my heel comes back down, and then I exhale. And as I exhale, what happens? I draw in my core, belly button to spine. We're going one hand at a time. As I punch, being mindful to not overextend. Keeping myself still rooted through the ground. But mobile for extension. And this breath here we may find, right? This breathing as we continue to go. That breathing is coming through my teeth being slightly closed, tongue close to the roof of my mouth, and a hissing motion. And the teeth come slightly more open to allow more air through the lungs to course through the mouth with a bit more explosion. Such as representing the point at which I meet my perceived target. Keep a slight bend in each arm. Each time you extend. And time. Now, here, I'm going to go ahead and bring my feet hips width apart. And we get into more bounces, so you can bring yourself onto your yoga mat for this if you want. Here, I'm going to go ahead and draw a kick forwards. Okay, so my kick originates from a knee. So I'm going to draw my right knee forward. Okay, as I draw my knee forward, I'm keeping my foot towards my sit bone, towards my butt, and then back down. Hips come forward, shoulders go back to keep my balance each time. In that same exhalation, inhale, lower back down. Keep my hands to my head, testing my balance. Here, I may feel a bit wobbly here. Like I'm losing my base, I'm losing my balance. Here we can do to keep our balance. The corresponding arm comes down alongside the knee that's coming forward. Hand comes back to the head. Left knee. Left hand comes down. Right knee. Hand comes back to the head each time. Perhaps here, I raise my heel off the ground if we're ready for it. At first, maybe the knee comes up more, right? Where we don't compromise our balance too much. For those of us that have the balance, just not raise the knee up, but also forward. Raising the heel off the ground. Hand comes right back to the head once I draw my foot back to the ground. Get a good extension in the hips. Try to return those feet back to that same neutral position. Opposite hand, opposite leg. and time. Now from here, we're going to kick forward and kick back. Okay, so as I kick forward, I'm going to draw that same knee into a kick. Right? Knee, kick. Only the knee is not so distinct here. My intention is to throw the balls of my foot, but my foot's still in a pointed position, so my toes are flexed. Kick. Okay. Again, those that maybe find their balance a bit tested, just go ahead and bring your arms down if you need to. Give yourself better balance. Those that want more of a challenge, leave the hands in place. And for even more of a challenge here, we're going to raise the heel off of the ground as well. Heel raises, hips come forward, shoulders come back. Still all the while hitting with the balls of the feet. Shoulders come back, hips jut forward. And time. Now with our feet slightly wider, then hips width apart. Grab a quick sip of water. Be mindful, of course, to take those necessary breaks when we need to. Here we'll close with how to come down back to earth safely. So I'm going to bend both legs, all the while keeping my hands to my head, arms to my body. I lower one hand to the ground. That corresponding foot, so it's my right hand, I raise my right foot. And I kick straight ahead to the opposite side, my left. Lowering my hips down towards the ground. And I can do the same on the opposite side. So in reverse, I raise my hips, draw my leg back in. I'm going to extend my arm to raise up safely and come all the way to my standing position. Okay? Do the same on the opposite side. So I lower down, hands start to my head, arms to my body. As I kick through and lower down. Extend both legs. Just come down to the ground. Draw our chin towards our chest as we lower each vertebrae down towards the ground slowly. Hands at our side. And last, we lower the head. And let's draw our knees into our chest. Let's bring the arms on the inside of the legs. So the heel of my palms met my innermost foot, and my fingers are wrapped around my outermost foot. My happy baby. Trying to keep the chin tucked. And close the eyes. We can shift the weight side to side. Just allowing ourselves the space to open up to our surroundings. It's a great big world ahead of us. All throughout the body, our mind, and spirit. Okay. Come out, draw our knees in, into our side, and raise up as easily as we can, and end in Seiza, and that is time. Again, here, thanking you, Coach Mike here at Mind Movement, for joining me for another session here to win the day on Wednesday, inviting you to Saturday, where we begin to win the weekends, as beginning is winning. Thank you so much for joining. Enjoy the rest of your day and week. Thank you.